Okay, I'm not exaggerating here. I want to show you how I used Perplexity's MCP in 45 minutes to generate a strategy that could have a $300,000 revenue impact for a mock brand based on real research, real data, and real information. This has kind of blown me away. I'm going to sort of lead you through my process here of how I accomplish this. So bear with me. It's off the cuff. This isn't scripted or anything like that. So I'm calling this the Strategic Prompter's Guide to the Perplexity MCP, how to leverage AI-powered research for market strategy development. Again, 45 minutes of research, $288,000 of potential revenue, and this will totally transform how you identify opportunities for marketing and going after opportunities that are out there. So let's get started. So the challenge is that to dig through all this data on the internet to develop a strategy, a market research strategy, it's time intensive. You get surface level insights and it can be very fragmented. You know, you're hopping between different models, different tools, things like that. I do all of this from Cursor. I have access to the MCPs that I want to use for research, and I use the Cursor agent to reference those, to collate the insights. I go back and forth, and I've kind of captured how I naturally do this here to try to give you some actionable takeaways. So the solution is that you need to have thoughtful prompt progression. So each prompt that I do when I work with AI builds on previous insights. So you're leveraging the power of compounding there as you give the model more and more context. So you can see here it says exponential insight value through sequencing. Having the right sequence of prompts makes a massive difference. Most people are getting in tools and they're just sort of randomly throwing things at the wall. If you have the right progression, you can identify massive market opportunities. So I uncovered a hidden gap in this market that it appears that most of the competitors in this market are completely missing. So we're going to go through a real world case study here. And here I have a made up men's mental health practice needing a social media growth strategy. And we're calling it Boring Dudes. Okay. And going through this live with some team members, I was doing some training and showing them how I do this so that we can release some of this training in our community. It took me about 45 minutes, but now that I've codified this, I think I could do this in maybe 10 or 15 minutes completely. So let's go through it. Basically, the key insight here is that better questions lead to exponentially better strategies. I say this all the time. There's two key things that you need to know when working with AI. You need to know what questions to ask, and you need to know what good looks like. If you can do those two things, you can generate incredible insights and incredible results. Okay, so here's the 5 phases of my research framework that I went through. And as I was doing this training, I realized that I kind of naturally do this because I've been in marketing for a long time and I've executed so many of these types of strategies over the years. But let's unpack kind of like what's going on in my mind so that you can try to replicate it and see what you come up with. So step 1 is foundational research. So at this stage, I'm doing a deep dive on a website, let's say my website, that represents how I'm speaking to customers, what my services are, what market I'm in, and I'm doing some research around that so that the model has full context on what it is I do, what makes me unique, who my competitors are, and things like that. So that's like the foundational level. So stage 2 is a digital presence audit. So we want to identify gaps and opportunities in the market versus the competition. What are competitors missing that we can go out there and address and take advantage of so that we can attract the right folks into our business? Step 3 is market dynamics. So once we identify sort of the foundational research, we find some of these gaps and opportunities. What are the gaps and opportunities that are going to take off in the market? What are people engaging with? What are they interested in? Who's growing fast? How can we take advantage of that unique angle? I always say that great marketing starts with a unique angle, and this is how we're going to find that. Once we find that angle, we're going to develop a content strategy based around it. And based on these specific gaps, we're going to build out communication patterns and a brand voice from influencers that are out there and doing a fantastic job on multiple channels. So we'll call this influencer intelligence. Again, this progression leads to like a real compound effect because your LLM is gathering context from each of these stages, and each prompt is building on previous insights. And this strategic sequencing is really, really a massive, massive unlock. Okay, so I'm gonna even tell you sort of some of the prompts that I've used here. So foundational, so I use the Perplexity MCP. I wanna understand the website, what their services are, who they serve, key competitors in their market, and who else could they be competing against that I'm not really thinking about. For the digital presence audit, it's like, okay, analyze the full online presence of this company. I want to look at these social channels, search visibility, content marketing, etc. So, what do we do? How are we trying to do it today? So this really gives us like a key idea around everything that's happening, and we're getting some broad context here, and that way we're not really missing any opportunities, and then we can narrow in based on the findings. Now, during the process of Perplexity giving me this information, I'm identifying some patterns myself as I go through the outputs, and I'm saying, ooh, this looks interesting. I want to dig more into this. I think that this sounds like a really, really solid opportunity. So something I like about Cursor is that when it gives me these markdown files, I go through and I highlight the items that I think really stand out for the brand that I'm working with. I reference those, I save them in the agent chat. I say, hey, this is what I like. Let's expand on this. Let's summarize this and put it into a new markdown file. So it's kind of this process of refinement over time. You're starting broad, and you're the human in the loop that's helping to narrow in based on your unique knowledge, your experience, your perspective, your taste, etc. So start broad and then narrow in based on the findings. You're the human in the loop, helping to filter through and dial in to those unique opportunities. All right, so market analysis and content mapping. Next, like what are the current market trends in this industry? What opportunities and challenges does this company face in competing with like local and national competitors? The next step would be I want to use the MCP to go deeper and identify specific gaps that I can use to grow my brand on social with content marketing. Pretty simple. You'll notice here that these aren't massively complicated prompts. The models have the right context and the right information. So I don't need to develop crazy prompts to get an outstanding result. I'm just telling it exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm asking the right questions, not complicated questions or prompts or instructions. I just know exactly what to ask. So a couple outcomes that I got here, I got some search data, I got emerging topics and keywords, market size and competitive dynamics, underserved topics with search volume, content format preferences for the market, and specific audience questions. This is like an incredible amount of value that you're feeding into the model so that you can get out the best outputs. So, why these work? On the first one, the market trends investigation, it requests both opportunities and challenges. It frames competition as multi-level. It's open enough to capture emerging trends, and then it positions for strategic thinking. On the second one with gaps, I'm explicitly asking for gaps, not just opportunities. I want to focus in on actionable content ideas. It's linked to social media growth. And then there's personal ownership in there for targeted results. If I'm a brand, I want to talk like a real person. I want to be like an influencer. Those are the people that are succeeding online, not faceless, soulless brands that are, posting vanilla content out there. So this is something that I think was the biggest takeaway from this research process. I found my unique angle. my unique angle is that there's no men-focused therapy platforms that are out there. You have BetterHelp, you have these things like that, but no one's really owning that specific men's market, at least based on this research. Could be proven wrong. Let me know if I am. And here's really the thing that blew me away. The opportunity is to be the clinical influencer. So during my research, I was able to find that there's a lot of like men's coaches and things like that are focused on, performance and mindset and things of that nature, but none of those actually had like clinical experience where they could work in real data, insights, and proven tactics to develop and improve your mental health as a man. Okay, so when you find a trend, validate it with follow-up prompts for confirmed opportunities. You really can't see that so well there, but that's something I did too. So as these ideas come out of the model, you can follow up and try to generate more research and insight around those to validate that that's a good targeted approach. So communication patterns and advanced strategies. Find the fastest growing influencers on this topic on YouTube to understand exactly how they're speaking to the target audience. So I'm going and finding successful creators with their metrics, identifying the creative communication frameworks they're using, the language patterns that are resonating, and content strategies that work. I'm not guessing. I'm going out and finding what's working. I am making that my own with my unique angle and with my unique perspective. And again, I'm the filter there, the human in the loop that is making sure that this is on brand and on point for the customers that I know, assuming that this is my business. So we've got some advanced strategies here mapped out. Progressive deepening. So general market understanding, specific gaps, dive into the most promising ones. Competitive intelligence, direct competitors, market leaders, blue ocean opportunities, language patterns, successful creators, language choices, and replicable frameworks. Frameworks are interesting content on the internet. You need payoffs. People need to accomplish, feel, and achieve something when they engage with the content. You're providing a transformation, and this is what successful marketing does. It shows you the transformation that you're going to achieve by buying the service or the product or engaging with a brand. And when you make content online, that's really just like a microcosm of that process. Okay, so I'm leading you through a transformation right now, if you didn't catch that. So master principle, don't just find what works, understand why it resonates with your audience. And you do that by finding what's already working out there. All right, so here's the full sequence that we can go through. Step one, broad market understanding. It's the foundational research that I mentioned. Step two, specific company focus, digital presence audit, revealing the gaps and positioning opportunities. Step three, market trends analysis. Trend investigation uncovers emerging opportunities with real growth data. Then we have the content gap discovery and the success pattern analysis. So some of the key principles here, number one, sequential building. Each prompt is informed by previous results. Step two, narrowing the focus. You're going broad at the beginning and you're narrowing in as you're filtering through these ideas that the LLM is throwing at you. Validation loop, confirm the findings before advancing. So you can do research steps in between to make sure that you're on the right track. Don't let the LLM take you on like a hallucination rabbit hole. Make sure that you're kind of validating what it's giving you, and then actionable output. Each stage produces implementable insights. As I get each of these insights, I create markdown files and artifacts with them, decks like this, etc. So total time investment to go through this process, 45 minutes. So at this point, I'm sure you're really wondering what the output looks like. I'll get there in a second, but here's a few tips that you can implement today when you're doing market research. Use website references. So when you're using the MCP, tell it exactly what website you want it to learn about and visit. Request specific data. So include search volume data and growth rates. This is tied to knowing what good looks like, which is one of my major tips for getting the most out of AI. Ask for comparisons, so find market leaders, find the gaps by contrasting the approaches. Seek hidden insights. What are competitors missing? What's unanswered? And then request actionable formats. Identify specific topics, suggest a content series for the platforms that you want to go and attack. So 5 critical pitfalls to avoid. Don't be too narrow too soon. This is something that kind of over prompting does, and over processing and overthinking. People are always trying to sort of one-shot something sexy. So actually, the best way to use AI is kind of having a conversation with it, going through it. You're the human in the loop with a super smart assistant. You're not trying to just like throw things in and get immediate outcomes. When people talk about being disappointed by what AI has given them, it's because they're doing the latter and not actually working with the model and understanding that, this takes work to get the best thing out of it. Don't ignore adjacent markets. You could miss innovation opportunities. So compare and contrast to folks that are, in and around what you're doing and aren't direct competitors, because oftentimes direct competitors are missing the boat too, or I'll say would have already taken advantage of these opportunities. That covers what I just said there. Skipping validation, always verify the trends and the information with multiple prompts. Oftentimes you can't really rely on the first thing the AI gives you. Again, this is a process, this is a conversation that you have to go through. Missing the why. Don't just find what works, understand why it resonates. So a powerful tip that I use is, as I get artifacts and things back from AI, I continually ask it to build retroactives or retrospectives, so that I can dig in and understand what I did, why it worked, and kind of the why behind it, if that makes sense. So here's kind of what we achieved here. 45 minutes of prompting. Again, I think I could do this in 10 to 15. Now that I went through it, we found terms and opportunities with like a massive growth rate. I'll show you how this revenue potential is broken down, but this is a real projection from what's happening in this market. This is a blue ocean according to our research. There aren't any specific men's focused platforms here. And, I probably spent, $10 to $15 in tokens versus hiring a market research or consultant to do this and put together this deck. To me, this is like McKinsey level. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that companies spend massive amounts of money trying to find these opportunities out there. And I'm telling you how you can do it for minimal cost on your own. All right, so that's it. And full action plan, market research, content strategy, brand development, some specific tips. Feel free to screenshot it. And this is your 45-minute timeline: research, audit, trends, gaps, and patterns. Okay, so biggest question, what's the output look like? Is it good, or is it AI slop, or is it junk, or whatever? No, I was blown away by it, and I'm gonna show you what I got. All right, so from research to ready to publish content, how 45 minutes of strategic prompting created a multi-platform content strategy that hits the nail on the head for me. I read through all of these and I thought they were fantastic. Couple small tweaks that I would recommend, and I'll talk about those. So we got TikTok scripts, YouTube video ideas, LinkedIn posts, and tweets. The Boring Dudes men's mental health strategy. It identified our highest priority topic. So I just developed a few assets based around that topic there. And the focus here is on developing emotional intelligence. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of this again. A couple things that I want to highlight here. Our strategic positioning that we're going to follow is the clinical influencer approach that combines professional expertise with relatable and practical content. So it's got our content strategy is real talk, practical tools, platform specific, and authority building through expertise. All right. All right. So here we go. Deliverables overview. So TikTok script, 45 to 60 second hook driven content. I'll just kind of read through the opening hook for you. You can decide if it's good or not. I thought it was. Your kids just spilled juice and you lost it. But here's what's really happening. That explosion, it's not just about the juice. When you're carrying stress from work, worry about money, or pain from your divorce, your nervous system, it's already at a 7 out of 10. That spilled juice just pushed you to a 10. See, the anger is usually fear in disguise. So there's a sample of the hook I was able to get here. Obviously, there's more content associated with that. And then we can turn that into a YouTube script, an 8 to 10 minute educational deep dive. We can get the whole script. What's up? I'm James from Boring Dudes. Today we're talking about something I see every single day. Guys who come in saying, I don't know why I'm so angry all the time. And then it goes through and it kind of leads us through the different sections, how you can address these points with real practical frameworks. So here in section 1, you can see we have the anger iceberg picture. The anger iceberg. Okay, picture an iceberg. That anger you see and feel, that's just 10% above the water. Below the surface, stress from providing, fear of failure, grief from losses. So this is super actionable, super relevant, and it goes through a specific protocol that gives people an actionable takeaway or actionable payoff from the content that they're creating. Next, LinkedIn. I was really surprised by this because it made it incredibly platform specific from the first go. The hidden cost of male anger in the workplace and what leaders need to know. So it starts out, I had a CEO in my office last week, a successful company, beautiful family, absolute powder keg of rage. The iceberg effect, that outburst in the boardroom, that sharp email to your team, that's a 10% above water, below the surface, pressure to never fail, fear of being found out. So it's got all of these actionable, relatable tips and ideas and frameworks that are just incredibly relevant to this business and to the target customer. And then we've got an X thread here. I personally wouldn't do a thread. I would think about like a video or a long form text post, but it is what it is. Sometimes you need to work with AI a little bit. I didn't have the time to go through and edit, but you can see that here as well. So 4 platforms covered, 2,500 plus words of completely dialed content that is extremely good, in my opinion, better than what a human could make, because to gather all that mental context and opportunity and sit there and create all this, or just using like isolated tools and strategies without that context and that research, it would be next to impossible to generate that stuff in any sort of efficient manner. So created all this within that 45-minute time block. We've got sort of an overview of what's working for each platform. So with TikTok, with YouTube, with LinkedIn, we've got hook-driven storytelling, educational authority, executive positioning. You can kind of see that it's already thought through all of the specifics that you need to go and build content from this framework out of the gate. Excuse me. Platform optimization principle, same core message, different delivery mechanisms, each optimized for platform culture and user behavior. Very important. It's not one size fits all. You need to know what resonates on each platform. You can do that in a number of ways. You can go and crawl and scrape folks that are having success. You can prompt, you can learn, and you can save that as context in your model so that you can build off of that type of foundation. All right, so I really liked this ACE protocol framework that was developed. You can see that this was in the YouTube script, but it's important here that we've got actionable, useful information that people can get value from. So this is acknowledge, cool the system, express the real issue. Actionable framework that positions the brand as solution-oriented, not just problem-aware, not just stoking the fire, not just engagement baiting. It's giving you really solid takeaways and really solid payoff. So core message consistency. Clearly, it understands how to do this and how to build out content that works for each platform. So core insight, platform adaptation, audience angle, call to action. That's all you need to know to succeed on social, really, right there. So one core insight, multiple expressions, and keep integrity. So business impact potential. And this is how we got to that $300,000 revenue opportunity. We've got a lead generation engine. You need leads. TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Those are our channels where we can get that from, and we can do that through organic content, which is the most powerful way to do your marketing. Then we have the authority positioning. This is our unique angle. captured, okay? And we're also a first mover on this gap that we researched and that we found in the market. Finally, revenue projections. So this mock company could do individual therapy for $150 a session, group programs online, tons of potential reach there for $75 a person, corporate workshops, $5K a day, online courses, $300. So massive, massive ROI potential from everything that you're seeing here. And it's a scalable content system. So this is one core topic that was researched, 4 platforms, replicable process, and a lot of compound growth. So it says this methodology can be applied to any topic: relationships, career stress, parenting, divorce recovery, etc. Kind of another summary here. I think we've gone through pretty much all of it. And this is sort of your final summary again, in terms of like content agency costs, market research cost, a traditional consultant that might go through and help you build out this content and stuff like that. And, again, I just spent 45 minutes and some tokens. And if you go and implement this, if you're in this space, there's a ton of market opportunity that's out there for someone to capture. The opportunities here are just unlimited. And again, like, I'm one person that did this in less than an hour, and I think I could do it in 10 to 15 minutes going forward. So incredible, incredible stuff. Again, Perplexity MCP, full prompting, breakdown and guide, super actionable ways to use AI, put it to work. I think you'll make a lot of money if you reverse engineer this process and do it. I'm going to do some more workshops on this in our community. I think this is incredibly valuable. Complicated workflows or vibe coded tools or whatever are nothing without the right insight and the right focus and the right direction. Too many people are glossing over the research phase and just wanting to produce sexy, workflows or sexy output in terms of content. The real value is in the angle. Good luck, and let me know what you think.